welcome to Maverick Live. I'm your host Luke 2, and today I'm joined by Adam.
Hello again.
How are you doing? You good?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you?
You've had a wonderful start to your September.
Yeah, it's not been too bad. The weather's kept up, thankfully, so that's been really nice.
Because we've had that weird heat wave. I mean, all around the UK, we had like a bit of a weird wintry spell a bit.
Time here. It's always, up and down, but yeah, it's been nice.
Do you feel like everyone's returned to work in like a little force currently?
Yeah, I think people are still feeling the effects of the summer though. People are, it's been a strange one, not being able to still having so many limitations, but I think everyone's slowly trying to get back into
to shake off the
swing of things.
Yeah.
And get back to the mindset.
So with furlough coming to an end in a sense in a lot of businesses, people going back into the offices after having maybe their second dose of vaccinations, what's happening currently, I guess, is people are now being reintroduced to a workplace. And today we're actually talking about conflict resolution skills. I could have got our HR, Louise, to come in and talk about that in a formal way, but I feel like when it comes to conflict resolution skills, it starts with the people. And it's all about, if you want to be a good leader in a group project, or if you want to be a good member of the team in that work project, you need to have that skill to realize when a conflict may arise and how you can resolve it in-house before you take it into a more formal setting.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about a little bit of a more formal way of going about things as we discuss what defines conflict resolution and how we should approach it. But we're kind of going to take it as a very step away from the formal. So if you are a HR director out there watching this, being like, no, that's wrong, don't do that, please speak up, let us know in the comments and say, look, this is how to approach this subject or topic. But I'm not really trained in a conflict resolution setting or a HR setting, but I feel like if you are a part of any project going forward, you need to understand when things are going to start breaking down.
Yeah, I think that conflict, it's understanding conflict's going to happen regardless, in various different situations, but as and when it happens, what can you do to ensure that the project or whatever you're working on is still going to move forward and people are working collaboratively and you're taking responsibility.
And you can define it as a success going forward rather than because
exactly.
Not every project's going to go the way you want it to, no matter what you do in life. There's going to be moments where something unforeseen happens, and then it's a case of addressing it and then moving forward.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with defining conflict. So you've got your major conflicts, which could be like discrimination in the workplace, and where two people really don't get along. It could escalate to very high means of having to go to a formal address, and people might even lose their jobs. It can get really hectic. And on the other end of the spectrum, you've got someone ate my lunch. What do I do then? I'm really angry about this person.
Yeah.
So conflict, it kind of swings. You can't just say like, I have a conflict. That could mean anything.
Yeah.
But in terms of a conflict in general, it could be just a dispute, a disagreement, or something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and it could. I think it could just be a difference of opinion on a certain subject or a certain project that you're working on. But it's defining whether or not it's just someone's personal idiosyncrasies and their opinions on something, or if it is actually going to genuinely affect what it is that you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. And if it's not going to, if it's going to hinder you, then it needs to be something that you talk about and address moving forward.
Yeah, I feel like the first step in any conflict resolution is communication all the way through it. So it can be squashed immediately if you listen to the person, listen to their point, and then actually them communicate their point at the same time, because there's no point in saying, I have a problem with this person or with this project now because I wanted to do it this way and it didn't go that way. But if you didn't voice that opinion, what's the other people meant to do? You need to communicate it a little bit. It can be tough if you're quite a shy introverted person, but you still need to find a channel to express yourself if you're going to get a little bit anxious about it, or if you're going to get kemped up and feel that rage inside of you of I don't feel heard right now, but you need to have those communication channels open. And it's the same with on the other side of things. You need to be open to people disagreeing with your opinions, and you need to be open to communicate and resolve moving forward on the project.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like you say, there are many different ways. You don't have to physically stand up in a room and say, I don't like this. Yeah. I want to tell you why. You can have one-to-one discussions. You can do it through email, phone. So there's always a way in which you can voice your opinion if you don't feel particularly comfortable having that conflict with somebody, or you worry that it's going to escalate to an argument or disagreement. And like you say, communicating and establishing how it's all going to work together and how everyone's going to follow each part, and taking responsibility for what you need to do, and listening to what everyone else needs to do, so you can understand their role and what you need to implement and they're implementing, so that you can work together. That's,
Yeah, when you go into a project, you always think, so this person's going to be in charge of these elements. What team is a part of building and formulating the end of group project. So if you take it all the way back to just team working group projects in school all the time, you have a group of 5 people, all different personalities from all different backgrounds, just coming in together to make a PowerPoint presentation. And then you've got the, people always joking, oh, you've got the nerdy brainy one who did it all, and then the one really weird kid who decided just to do one slide. It's different in that sense, where if you feel like someone's taking credit for work, that can also be a big conflict in itself of someone not pulling their weight. So it needs to be defined at the start of each project of who's in charge of what, why, and what they bring to the table, in a sense. Because if you feel like you've been brought into a project for no reason, that can be quite confusing as well. Okay, so I'm a part of this whole amalgamation. What do I do? You should never be thinking to yourself, what do I do? It should be okay, what do you want me to do for a project leader or manager to say, look, this is what you're going to bring, this is what I expect from each person of the group.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you just bring a bunch of people into a big room and say, we need to have this end result, how are you going to, 1, track performance, and 2, how are you going to, mitigate everyone's, contribution to the project?
Yeah, and especially when it comes to group projects, although you are working as a team, everyone has to have something that they're responsible for. So if something was to go wrong, it can never be a case of we, it has to be a case of I was responsible for this, I did this, I achieved this, I struggled with this.
Yeah.
Rather than, because otherwise it's just pointing fingers, and you end up in this huge argument of who did what and who didn't do what. So establishing that boundary of, okay, I know that I have this to do, you have that to do.
Yeah.
And then you can collaboratively work together and communicate. And if anyone is struggling, that's the perfect time, especially if you're working in a group, to voice their opinion, have a meeting, have a discussion, have a phone call, email, whatever, to, overcome whatever boundary it is they're facing.
Yeah, once again, that communication is key, because it's I working for the we. And like I say, if someone is struggling, if you're working in your separate islands, you can't see the shipwreck around the corner, can you? It's an issue of, if you all communicate, oh, I'm doing this part and I've done my part, this is great. That shouldn't just be the end of it. It should be how are things getting along everywhere else, and you can help each other out then. Because if the project is not a success and the client suffers, the client isn't going to go, oh, well, I saw Adam didn't do that one part. It's going to be, your business let this down.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot of you. They're not going to say to themselves, oh, it was just this one member of your team. It's always going to be the whole team's representation of it. And that's part of our core values. We own what we do, and every person in the building owns what they do. But at the end of the day, it's the maverick face between all of the work that we put on.
Yeah.
And it's the same with any business. Any business's end result is reflected on that whole business as a whole. They're not going to you're not going to single some people out and just, put them in the firing squad. It's literally going to be, this business let me down, I won't go over them again.
Yeah.
So that's the end result of, having no tracking progress and no resolution skills in when things appear. Because like we said, sometimes projects do fail, and they will fail. But it shouldn't be a pointing fingers game.
No.
It should be a fact of, we let this down, why did we let this down? Okay, how can we improve and be better in that sense?
Yeah. And I think, as mistakes happen, but as long as you learn from them, it's an opportunity for you to grow as a person and as a business, and say, okay, look, this happened, but how can we achieve it not happening again?
Yeah.
And you can implement new ways, and that avoids, a customer or client ever getting frustrated in the future.
And if you want your team to grow, you need to be able to take the risk of putting them on a project they might be a little bit out of their depth with, but surround them with people who can help them and raise them up. Because otherwise, if you're always going with the safety of the same people who know what they're talking about, but you're not building people up in the meantime with each project, you're just going to be stuck then if a bigger project arrives and you need more manpower with more knowledge and more skill. So it's a big case of having to upskill people and upskill them, as well as having them a part of projects. And that can cause a little bit of traction where some of the older members will feel like they're carrying the younger team, and that can create some tension. But everyone needs to learn and grow as the people who with not enough knowledge, but with currently lacking knowledge are brought in, and we have people to bring them up. They're learning how to help people and teach people, and the younger members or less experienced members are learning how to do the job and how to approach bigger projects.
Yeah, and it's about remembering as well that at one point you were probably that person that was having to be trained on how to do the project in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's about having that respect for saying, I understand that, yes, I probably have a lot of work to do and I don't necessarily have the time or the effort to put into teaching somebody how to do everything. But, at one point you were that exact same person. So, taking that time away to think, okay, yep, I understand that it's difficult. And it can be frustrating, and there can be conflicts that arise when you're under pressure and someone's there constantly watching you. But it's all about help. They're effectively going to help you in the end.
Yeah.
So don't get frustrated and just take it as an opportunity to learn a new skill as well, especially when it comes to learning how to manage people, how to teach them, how to help them grow. That's a really good skill that you can take with you for the future.
And that's all we can do as a team to help each other, and then if any conflicts arise, you have the communication and the foresight to say, I want to help you right now, and then you just help each other. Obviously, anything larger than that, which is full on, turmoil in the office, like we said, like discrimination or anything, relevant to that, do go through the formal channels. Yeah. Don't address it in the team. You can say if you want to, and if you're comfortable doing that, you can hopefully have people to talk to with that. But anything like that, you need to have a formal view, and your company needs a system in place to address those things. And I think every company does nowadays, which is 100%. Handy, because we've learned and we've grown, as a whole society, to make sure that stuff like that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and as a society, we've moved heavily towards being a much more inclusive space for everybody, and so it's 100% crucial to have the channels to discuss any issues that you feel are genuinely causing you
over the line, because there's a lot more boundaries nowadays for like those discussions and those talks, because office banter is one of those things which going forward as as offices come back into the office, and beforehand even, it needs to be addressed to what boundaries of what's being said.
Yeah, I think sometimes people can make comments in jest, but if it's genuinely going to affect you and offend you, then you can either bring it up then and there, or you can go through the correct channels and say, look, there was a discussion that was had recently, didn't really appreciate it, and then it can be addressed moving forward, and everyone then knows the boundary of where you can go and where you can't go.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming down, Adam.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching Maverick Live. It's been quite a heavy and conflicting little discussion. But if you have any points, anything you want to address, don't forget to talk to us in the comments below, and we'll answer them maybe next time we're live or in the comments itself. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more Maverick Lives going forward, and we will see you next time. Thanks again, Adam.
Thanks for it.
Thank you all for watching.